Please help me out. Okay, perfect. So whatever the data we saw so far, if you look at, if you go back and look at it in the data warehouse, EDW is the environment I was using, and in the overview, let me go and show you ODS customer. Oh, sorry, this is the source, right? Um, the customer dim. So the customer, what happened? It is not. It is still fetching records. No. Okay. Let me right click and say get only. Select the first thousand. Ooh, there is no data in customer table, guys. What happened? What did you do? So let me rerun the job and we should be able to populate it. That shouldn't be a problem. So don't worry. I say execute and we get the data here. Guys, as I told you so far, why I have spent more than 12 hours in explaining the concepts of data warehouse and ETL and all this. You'll have to understand the purpose of the data warehouse before you use a tool, which means you'll have to understand the engine technology before you open it. So all we are doing is we are using beautiful tool to open our engine. But if you don't know in an engine what a cylinder is, what a ring is, what a gasket is, it is not worth it opening the engine. So please go through the videos again and again until it strikes in your mind that this is the concept of data warehouse. So that you can make use of the tools really easy. So here let me run the same table. So now we have data. If you see, I have a customer, I have loaded him, his address is this. So now we are going to go into source and change his address. What I will do is first the original data is loaded. Now I will go and update the data in source so that in target we will maintain two records. His start date for this address will be there and an end date for this address will also be there. That's what we will try to do. But just because I don't want it to spoil the original table, because I'm going to export this and send it to you as a reference, I'm going to use another table which is the customer dim type 2 which I have created. So it should be existing by now, it should be there in the database. Mm, customer, okay, let me refresh it, it should come up. uh, yeah, here it is. So I right click and say select, we have it here. So we are going to modify this table because as I told you, for an address to have in type 2 dimension, we should have few things. We should have a start date, end date, and also we should have a current indicator, because when you wanted to pull out only the current address, if you don't have an indicator you will feel very tough, because there will be 100 different addresses. Because if you look at my history, Ganapati was born in or Ganesh was born in a small place, a small town called Chirala in Andhra Pradesh. Later he got educated in Nellore. Later he moved to Chennai. He worked in Delhi. He worked in Hyderabad. He went to Israel. He went to US. He worked in Florida. Worked in Texas. So he has 20 different addresses so far for the past 30 years that he lived. So we are going to manage each address, but there should be definitely a start date and end date. And if there is a current indicator, if someone wants to understand where is Ganesh living today, you will also put in your filter saying current indicator is equal to 1. Then it will get you only, in general we use 0. For the history records we make them 1. Current indicator will be always 0. So that if you put current indicator is equal to 0, it will get you only current address of Ganesh. So that you can send him a get well soon message, or you can always send him $1,000,000 check. He always accepts the amount as form of check. So there is no surprise if someone wants to send me a gift of $1,000,000. I'm happy to take it. But we are going to change this, guys. Let me go back into designer, make this particular particular table whichever we have pulled out as a real table, and we'll start applying the start date, end date. I can also, you know one thing, I can also do it here. Instead of modifying a database, I go here, I will create, say, insert new output column, insert below. I will say this is start date, and I will make it as a date and time or date, that is up to me. So I can always make it as a date. If I put date and time, you won't change address more frequently. In a day, if you say I have 10 address, then it is going to be problematic. You should be a notorious person changing your address every minute. So we'll do it daily. So insert below, we'll say end date, and this is also a date. And finally, we'll have an indicator. So I will name it as new output column, insert below. I want it to name it as current in, what is it? No. Type 3 is again, the purpose of these columns is maintainability and traceability. Whereas type 3 dimension is, you are going to add the region twice. You are going to add mostly the zip code twice. So you are going to make it parallel, saying he lived in earlier in 94903 as zip code, whereas currently he is living in 94066 as a zip code, right? So yeah, so I'm putting it as, yeah, adding column is, you are correct, but not these columns. It is actually the address columns. If you add, they become the type. But believe me guys, I have seen so far only type 1 and type 2 being used in data warehouse environments. Type 3 is a peculiar requirement. Maybe if you go into insurance industry, they require type 3 transformation there. The reason is that the type 3 is slowly changing dimension. If you move from a place to other place, they will have to understand how your what is it, you know that your auto insurance is by county, it is also by town you are living. So they will monitor, saying Ganesh has lived in 94066, his premium was 500. Currently he is living in 949, his premium is 600. So there is a difference. So they wanted to actually track that kind of information. They may come up with a type 3 dimension, but in general we may not require. So here for the initial load, we are not going to build the type 2 dimension at a time, right? Only if there is an address change I need to build it. So for the initial load, start date is my, I can put any default date. So here let me make use of the global variables. That is again one important place where we can start using global variables. Because I want you to build your data warehouse in a proper manner, and you should be an ETL architect in no time. If you start using all these global variables and start building your data warehouse, you are going to be really a power user of ETL tool. So here I have the low date and high date. I'm going to use them, and the current indicator, I always want my current indicator as 0, so I will make it as 0. So by default, if we run the job, these are the records going to get loaded. So let me go here and say execute. For the first time I am making it as a low date. In the second time, yes, I can do it like this. So that should not be a problem. So in the low date, let me go and give him a date here. It is, I'm trying to pass the date as 01.01.0001. I mean, if you look at my initialization script, I had it defaulted there. But now because I don't have the initialization script put in this, I'm trying to do it manually. You will understand the purpose of the initialization script now. So 31, is it like that, or mmddyyy? Mm is month, so it should be 12.31.9999. So I have put this as my high date and I say okay. If I run the job, it is going to create the data with those dates. Let us go and see if it really creates or not. If I refresh this particular query, we should see the data. Start date is null, end date is null. What happened, man? Current indicator is populated, but the start date and end date are not populated. We'll have to go and see what has happened. If I have the debugger now, it is very easy. My life will become easier. That I run it in debug mode and I know what will be happening. So that is the purpose of debugger. It makes your life easier. So I'm using the low date and it is a date here and it is also a date here. You know what could have happened? Low date there, even I'm passing it as a date. So certainly it should not trouble me. Okay, when things go worse like this, guys, I will show you an easy way of understanding what is happening. This is where the initialization script is required. You'll now understand why I need initialization script. Let me put the initialization script here. If I put an initialization script, I can always print the statement and see what is the date that this particular variables are getting. So I will say print the load date, which is my global variable g underscore low. Global variables in general, if they are properly configured or being used, they should pop up. So I take the load date. Now I go to home and make it here and say end. But here I should concatenate. That is the mandatory requirement, so that they print it one statement. And then I will also print the high date. This is a debugging option, guys. You can also debug and see what has happened for the date you passed. Why didn't it print? So now I will save this job and I wanted to run it again. I told always validate. It has given me a warning saying it is converting a date to varchar. That is the problem. It is converting a date to varchar. That could have been the problem. Let us go and see the variables. Is it declared as this is a date, and high date is also should be declared as date. Yeah, it is a date, but if it is not accepting, sometimes the format will be a trouble, guys. We'll fix it now. So I go here, instead of passing every time, I can actually hard code the dates and then it get overwritten when we wanted to pass a different date. That is always possible. So instead of passing it every time, I'm going to go in properties of a job and fix them. At runtime, I will always have an option. I can change it. I will show you how to change it at runtime. 9999, perfect. And I say apply. Now let me run the job. You will see that the print statements appear and it will print what the date it is getting. It should be only related to date format.